Hello, my name is Carol May Whittick, and welcome to Her Conversations, Tools for the Awakening Woman. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. Who is the awakening woman? She is the woman seeking a greater possibility in her reality and looking for solutions. She knows being awakened is not a lofty ideal, but a necessity. If she can transform herself, she can change the world. Her conversations will introduce you to talented women who will speak to your spirituality, sensuality, and soul. They'll share their stories and explain how they are in service to the world. So let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. This week's guest on Her Conversations is Apinder Sidhu, who joins me for a fascinating discussion about her work, which incorporates shamanic healing and accessing Akashic Records to help her clients. During our talk, Apinder explains what both shamanic healing and Akashic Records are, and how these modalities entered into her life. We also talk about who we are as souls and how each of us has a vital role to play on Earth, even if some of us have to suffer or commit crimes. She also talks about how a seemingly unrelated study of history as a student came to a powerful conclusion later on in life, and why for her working with a purpose and creating an impact creates a more fulfilling life. So as always, I start by asking each of my guests, Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. When do you feel at your most her?
I came into being her when I realised I'm not conventional. And I'll explain a little bit about that. When I turned 40, there was a real massive understanding of myself, which is 4 years ago. And I just happened to then, just very soon afterwards, discovered shamanic work. And through that, I realised my own energetic resonance. And it was completely, there's a very old saying, when the student's ready, the master will appear. Mm-hmm. I just started very slowly getting into this kind of work by doing affirmations, reading things like Louise Hay. I'd been introduced to it. And then I started kind of getting sensations and feelings in my body. When I see things, I saw signs. And then I realised I've always had that kind of connection to something. Thinking is outside myself again, because you're always kind of taught with organised religions, everything's outside yourself. But at the age of about 40 and turning 40, things just started happening slightly differently, actually quite differently. And then it was about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when I started to discover shamanic work from somebody that I knew who invited me to go to a new class he was running, and I didn't know he was practicing shamanism. And it was literally from there that you understand your own energetic resonance. I think I'm my her when I'm literally working within myself. So when I have those feelings and sensations, I stop, I take stock, I try to understand them. It can be on a bus, it can be on the tube, it can be when I'm by myself, it can be when I'm talking to somebody, and sometimes you don't know when it's going to come. But when what I do now that I never used to do when I was younger is there's a lot more listening going on. And when you're listening to people, that's when my energetic resonance kind of rises. Then I really feel like I'm in my power. But that's not like an arrogant way or, but when I'm really still and just listening and learning, that's when I feel my real energetic kind of abilities vibrating through me. And it's sometimes really, really hard to explain. I don't know if it's making sense, or it's really kind of hard to explain sometimes as well. But it's in the stillness that my energy, I feel, rises. I think that's the kind of what I'm trying to say here.
That's perfect. I want to find out a bit more about you. Obviously, the work that you're doing, we're going to speak about that in a moment. But how did your life lead you to this point? What have you been through? What has kind of fueled you finding yourself in this place?
My background is in education, in the sense of the last 20 plus years, I've always worked in education. I've trained to become a teacher. That was my very first kind of traumatic experience, trained to become a teacher. I didn't have a great experience in the university that I was with, in the sense that my supposed mentor, was actually not a mentor at all. She was actually quite somebody who was always taking a strip off my hide, and you're not doing this, you're not doing that. that was my first real proper experience of being in a situation outside the comfort of my home where I was at the mercy of somebody else and they kind of took advantage of my abilities, you can say. Unfortunately, I didn't go on to teach, but I fell back into education a few years after that, but mainly working with charities, local authorities, doing project management work. So it was kind of working with children, with families, with schools, setting up projects that were being funded by local authorities or through charities to improve communities, to improve society, to improve life chances and developing opportunities. And it was at that point, before that, I always used to think to myself, I think my role in life, somewhere along the line, is to help people, but not knowing how, thinking through teaching, I'm helping young people learn, helping parents, helping families. But it wasn't until I got into this work in my early 30s that my kind of understanding of myself, and the fact I can make a difference. How I was going to do it, I didn't know. But I've always had this kind of, I would like to make a difference somehow, somewhere. And sometimes it's about making a difference in your own life. And you don't realize the work that you do, you actually have an impact on yourself as well. But you kind of go through the motions. You're being paid a salary. You've got deadlines to meet. You've got key performance indicators. You're going to have an appraisal. So you're going to make sure you're doing you're performing kind of thing. But along the way, I started having an impact on my life, making connections with people. I still see people now whose child I put into summer camp who made a difference in their life. But to me, it was just another child going to summer camp. And I still meet those parents 10 years later and saying, you know what, you remember him? He's out of university and you helped him. Or do you remember so-and-so happened? So having their stories repeated back to you has been quite powerful. And it kind of gives you a sense of like, okay, I'm maybe on the right path, or I think I'm having an impact. But then it has an impact on me. And it's not like oh, great, I've done another amazing job. It's kind of like, okay, good, I'm glad I did that. And what else can I do? So my life has been kind of, not a life of service in a civil service kind of way, but kind of giving, but always been like, oh, this is just my job. So I'm doing it. I've got to perform, I've got to perform. I've got to hit targets. I've got to hit deadlines. And then realized about 5 years ago, it all kind of came to a head point when I turned 40, that sitting behind a computer on a desk in an open plan office is just not making me, or an office anywhere, it's not making me happy. I knew, I've always felt I wanted to do more. I've always known I wanted to work for myself, but doing what, again, I didn't know. Suddenly all these questions start coming into your heads and your minds, and not being married, not having children. Sometimes maybe you have more time to do it. I don't know. You see people moving in your life, friends have come and gone or who have progressed, but in different ways. And in the last 10 years, I've seen my path go in very different direction to friends and even some family. Not knowing where I'm going, so I still don't know, to be honest with you, but having a lot more idea of what I'd like to do and how I'd like to engage more. So everything really came to a point between the age of about 38 and 40, knowing that just working for someone was not really making me happy. And it wasn't just about getting a salary, but having a more in-depth impact on myself and others, but in a way which is not kind of egotistical, but in a way that you're on a deeper level. And then around that time of about 40, I suddenly thought, oh, I'd like to do some more angel work. Maybe I can do some more work with, as I was reading Louise Hay, as I was reading other authors of the same ilk, Dr. Wade Dwyer, Deepak. I've not done much work with Deepak Chopra, not read most of his stuff, but having become more aware of these authors out there, and it's not just self-help, but actually on a deeper level. It's more on a more of a soul level, rather than just saying Tony Robbins style, kick your butt, get motivated, and make what you want happen. And then this person who I got an email from and saying, I started doing more therapy of myself. So I was going to therapy, and because I knew there was more, but I just didn't know how to express it. I think that was one of the key things is, we talk loads, we communicate loads, but there's not that many that really express, not that many people that really express what they really want to say. So when I started at the end of my therapy, I kind of then came across this email from this person that said, I'm starting a shamanic workshop classes. Anybody's interested, come along. This is the date and this is the time. And to me, it was like, my association with shamanic is the peace pipe, or the pipe that goes around in a group and you're smoking, you're drinking something. I was like, I want to do drugs. But I was just piqued my interest. And I went along, and my first question in the group was 5 of us, and the teacher was, I'm not doing any drugs, so how do I do this? So it was about learning. And the very first time I journeyed, as you journey, and we usually journey 3 times within a class, nothing happened. I was so tense, I was so anxious, I was so scared, because you get told, you could see this and you could see that, and you'll meet an animal and you meet this, and somebody could come through from the other world, and you're like, I don't know if I want to do all that. What have I got myself into? And then the second time, we all came back. And I was like, well, what if my soul gets stuck somewhere? And I can't, all these really bizarre, but very common questions that you get asked. And it just escalated from there. And I went back week after week after week. For the first year and a half, I went every week, every session, because it just drew me in, and it kind of gave me an outlet, and it gave me the opportunity to really connect with myself. And although I do a lot of healing for other people, we do world healings when there's a conflict or any struggles going on in the world, we go through there in our journeys with our spirit guides. But what it has done for me is made me connect with me and really look at myself and where I feel my purpose is or could go to. That was the biggest kind of aha moment, if you want to say. That is where my energy, where my resonance starts to rise. And it's kind of just risen and risen and risen. And at the same time, it's given me that sense of purpose in this world. Because there was a point I was thinking, why am I here? I don't want to be here anymore. Life was difficult, more emotionally than anything else. I was doing I was going through the paces, I was getting up, getting on the tube, going to work, social life, everything was there. But this sense of being lost, I think, is what it was. That's a big sense of loneliness, massive void, feeling lost. And doing this kind of work, and obviously progressed since then, has really helped me find my her.
Fabulous. And you're talking about the journey. What is that, if you're to just kind of open up and give more information about what the journey is?
When we do the shamanic work.
When you do the shamanic journeys,
Okay, so normally in a 3.5, usually 3 hours class session that we go to the group, you we come together. Then we create sacred space. It's usually it's a mantra or a prayer, sacred prayer that we do together in a group, and that opens a sacred space. And then that's where you're inviting in all your spirit guides, all benevolent spirits who are going to come to help you. And sometimes ancestors turn up, different people. Usually it's our own spirit guides or our animal guides. And then the teacher, the shaman, he doesn't like to be called shaman, so we call him a teacher, or the leader of the group. He then we have an intention. So when you journey, which I'll explain to you about, you set an intention. So your intention could be to get a healing for a particular person. Usually the first session we do of every class is the intention is to connect with your spirit guide, your animal guide. And then he'll shake a rattle. We say the intention, usually within your own mind. And then he then starts drumming. So all shamanic work is based on a drum. He'll drum. And what the drumming does, like you can find different programs on the internet, is it lowers your brain waves. And as you lower your brain waves, you can go into a trance. And that's how you can go into a trance-like state, because then your brain waves start slowing down, and the way you think and the way you focus, all of that changes. There's it's like a resonance, kind of different frequencies. So as your brainwave slows down, you're on a different frequency. The drumming does that, and it creates a trance-like state. I'm very aware that I'm in that room doing what I'm doing, but when you kind of go into a semi-trance-like state, you start journeying. Now, everyone in the world will have a very different experience when they do this. My journeys are very linear. They start in the heart space, which is a space where usually in nature, where you feel comfortable. Now, my heart space, and we share all this, so it's not like I've got to keep it a secret, is a beach that I went to in Antigua, which is a stunning beach. So I always then visualize myself in that beach. That's my start point. And as the drumming then increases, first is a rattle, we get into tension, then he starts drumming. Then basically it's like your mind's eye or your visualization kicks in, and then you start seeing and you start hearing and you start doing things. So normally, whichever journey you go for, you'll either get a guidance, you'll get healing, or you'll have an experience. Sometimes you can have all three. Sometimes it's a mix and match of the two. Sometimes just one thing. So then I will journey. And then when you first start doing shamanic work, you're always going into a lower world. That's where you will meet your spirit animal. My spirit animal was a panther, but more recently in the last year, it's now a lion. So you have to find a way to go down. I go into the water, I go under the water, I go to the seabed, and I pop up into a lagoon. And there's a waterfall there. It's very tropical. It's beautiful. Wherever this place is, it's very tropical. It's very beautiful. And everything that happens is kind of resonates with you as a person, and it can resonate with past lives, and it can resonate in all different places and times. And then I link with lion. All the lions live in the Sahara, live in Africa, are from like more like flat lands and stuff like that. But he pops up in this tropical rainforest type thing, and then we talk. And some people, when they journey, they don't hear anything; they just see images, they'll see pictures, they'll get sensations or colors. I talk to my animals, I ask them questions, and they always talk back to me. I've got a friend who goes to the group, we've become friends and we've been in the group. His animal just shows him stuff. They'll show him, like I said, images, or they'll show him places, and he always said, well, what does that mean? And I'll just show him. They won't talk to him. Whereas mine, and it could be a reflection of me because I can be quite talkative. And then, sometimes it gives me guidance. Sometimes it'll give me a healing. And healings can be quite extreme, to your head blowing off, to somebody just literally putting a paw on you and just soothing out whatever pain you may have. An experience of like for instance, I've been on my lion's back, and he's just taking me up into the cosmos, and we're flying above Earth. And it's just a feeling of lightness that you get in this, and it creates sensations in your body. So that's what a typical journey, and it will last about 8 minutes. So the teacher will drum for 8 minutes, and then the drum will stop, and he'll start speaking to you, and he normally says, finish off whatever you're doing. So if you're having a conversation, we'll wrap it up. If you're getting some guidance or healing, usually wraps up, and then you'll say, now say your thank yous, do what you need to do, and then you need to come back to this reality, and then you kind of visualize very, very quickly. Saying, started off in this my tropical forest, and then he's taking me to the cosmos. I've got to find a way to get back, and then when you come back, say thank yous, and then you come into the reality where you are, into the present moment. So that's kind of typical what a journey could be like. Like I said, everyone journeys differently, everyone journeys a different way. Some people get taken, there's three worlds, there's the upper and the middle and the lower world, and each have very different there's different activities you do in each thing. You go to the upper world to meet gods and goddesses. I connect with, like, for instance, Jesus Christ there. I always connect with angels, archangels there, and they all bring you different things. They all bring you different guidance, different healing. And the middle world is very similar to our world. It's like we live on this plane. So it could be like a forest, it could be a house, it could be a castle, something that you would find in our reality world. And there you may do some work on healing, and you may get some if people going through a transition in life. It could be somebody, I did one a couple of weeks ago, and the lady's mother, she's 97, but she's hanging on. She doesn't want to let go. She's still alive, but she's in a lot of pain. And this person in the group said, I really want her to let go, find peace, and move on to the next stage of her life, pass on to the other world. And then I did a healing for this person's mother, to help her to get rid of the fear, so that she's 97, she's got dementia, she's in a lot of pain, to let go, so that she feels that she can go into the light to move into the next phase. And so when I came back, I was like, I hope you don't get a phone call saying your mum's passed, because I will feel so guilty. Just by, but the thing was, I helped her meet somebody who then will help her go into the light. So when the time is right, she will pass, obviously. But when someone's in so much pain, you want them to go in peace. Yeah. And that's what happens with a lot of souls. When they die traumatically, they get stuck. because there's so much fear in them, they can't find the light in order to move on. I mean, that's kind of that's the understanding in the shamanic world. Whether it's a car accident or bombing, or you fell out a window, or murdered in some way, that traumatic death and holds them, unfortunately, in this plane, and they can't find the light because some people only actually know they're dead. I mean, if I didn't really see the film Ghost, Patrick Swayze, when he first wakes up, he actually doesn't know he's dead, and spirits are coming to him, telling him, but he doesn't believe it because he had a traumatic death. So it's things. The shamanic work I do is actually very uplifting. It can be tiring, but sometimes you go into the group and you're tired yourself because you've had a long day at work, but you can come out really energized because you've done a healing for yourself, you've done a healing for somebody in the group, you've done a world healing, there may have been like another bombing or there's so many murders going on in London and in England at the moment. It's scary, but it's not just about healing those people who are the victims, but it's also healing the perpetrators, getting to stop doing what they're doing and make them to understand that we all need to live in love and light, and trying to bring that love and light into their heart so they will stop raping or murdering or having terrorist activities, or just somewhere along the line they're in pain as well. So that can be quite hard.
And this just came to me, you're talking about there are people who are perpetrators of crimes, murders, atrocities in the world. And this is one that I've heard said in different ways. The fact that we all come to the earth plane, we all have roles to play. Yeah. That these people, these souls, have as much a valid role in creating healing for ourselves or experiences in ourselves, even though we don't like the outcome or the experience. Those who create and commit those kind of crimes or evil acts are playing out almost like a soul's journey. Yeah. Is that something that when you're kind of working to heal them on a shamanic level, do you kind of meet the part of their soul? Is it making sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. And this is something that I think most people struggle with. Mm-hmm. When if there's a paedophile or with a child, they go, but how can you tell me that person had to do that in order for that to happen? And part of the shamanic is not for us, the world that we live in, the work that we do, it's not for us to judge. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a purpose. So when a child is murdered, like there's a little girl got murdered a couple of days ago by her mother in Wales, and you just think, how can a mother do that? It's really hard to explain. I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain it to you properly. Sometimes it's not about that child, it's about that mother has to learn a lesson. So that child who was 4, before she came into this world, she made a pact within that soul group and saying, that woman is going to have to go through a very traumatic experience. She needs to learn a lesson because it might be a karmic lesson or a past life lesson she hasn't learned, but somebody needs to go onto earth to help her learn that lesson. So that child, I'm very sorry, I'm getting really emotional. That child has trauma, but that child, that soul made a decision to be born into that family in order to be murdered. So that woman, the mother, could learn a lesson. So when she comes into her next life, she would have learned her lesson, whatever that's meant to be. Yeah. Now, most people would argue that is absolute rubbish. You can't believe that if there's a God, he would let that child go through the trauma, or any woman or any man, in this world. But we have so many souls' lifetimes, and that's kind of the work I'm doing at the moment with Akashic Records, which I can talk to you about a little bit as well, that we have lessons to learn. Every time we come back, we should have learned the lesson in order for our soul to move forward to the point where we won't be coming back because we would have learned all our lessons. So you break that cycle, that karmic cycle or the past life cycle, so that you come to a point when you're born, your wisdom grows. We see sages, we can talk about Christ, for instance. He came, he was a man, he walked the earth, did he have a child? Was he, did he get married? I believe he did. I mean, this may be controversial because he was a man, and as a human being, a man or a woman, we have roles and we have, desires and everything else. But what he did was, for me, I believe He was such a, he'd been walked the earth many times, and every single time he learnt his lesson and he moved on, he came back. He was a developed soul. He was an ascended master, and that's how he's become an ascended master, because he's God's child, just like you are, I am, everyone is. But what he did was he learnt his lessons in every single lifetime, to the point where he was so ascended that when he came, his last life, he came as Jesus Christ, was as Jesus, I would say, son of Mary and Joseph. He was able to help other people and through his own suffering, whichever way you want to look at it. And then that's why he was able to ascend to become the ultimate angel or the ultimate archangel and lead everybody else through this organized religion. In fact, you have to have organized religion. I'm not a big advocate of organized religion, but I think it helps people to get in touch with their souls. I think it helps people to learn lessons to move forward. So I don't know if that answers your question, but everyone has a purpose. You can talk about drug dealers, we can talk about criminals, we can talk people who become millionaires, billionaires through the suffering of others, who commit murder. Everyone here is trying to learn a lesson or teach a lesson or learn something. And if we don't, we're going to have to come back, and that's where you get repeat patterns. If you are in a marriage, in an abusive relationship again and again and again, but you're not breaking away from it, you're letting the other person be the perpetrator. The other person wants to break as well. So you as an abused wife, so I'm going to take a normal stereotypical scenario, you're being abused by your husband, but maybe his lesson is that he needs you to tell him to stop, go for help, go for therapy, that I will no longer tolerate you abusing me. So she's the actual person that needs to help him rather than the other way around, rather than her needs to walk away. Otherwise he'll keep being a perpetrator. So he married someone who was very strong, that went up against him. He became violent. It was actually up to her to stop him by saying enough is enough, you need help. And then by him going through therapy or counselling and changing his ways, the next time he comes back, his soul comes back, it'll be more of a developed soul. But all these ideas are very controversial. Yes. And it's what you pick up, it's what your belief patterns are. I don't condone any kind of violence in any kind of way. My heart is breaking by a little girl at the moment. She was 4. She didn't have a choice. But there's a lesson in everything, and there's a reason. A lot of the times we don't know the reason, and that's the hardest thing. Is that, why did that happen to me? Why did I deserve that? Your car gets hit. And I've done it, but I've accidentally hit somebody, and I just think, why did that happen? Because my car's been hit as well as other person's. And one thing we do when I do coaching work, I'm a life person development coach, and in my new world of Akashic Records, one thing you don't ask is why. We do not work with a victim. We do not work with a victim mentality. Why did it happen to me? So you can all we do is turn around saying, what has that taught me? Or what do I have to learn from this? How do I grow from this? How do I move forward from this? If that makes sense.
Totally.
But it is really hard when there's so many criminals, so much bad stuff happening. You think, why is God doing this? Or how can these people live with themselves?
Or is there a God or anything like that? Yeah,
absolutely.
No, I hear you. And the first time that kind of question even came into my mind, because I was, I grew up in the church, and right was right and wrong was wrong and all this kind of thing. And the first time I even questioned somebody's role was when I was doing acting classes.
Okay.
And having to play someone who was evil, and I just couldn't work out how to get around it, and asking the teacher, going, well, how do you play? Because they're saying you've got to find the humanity in this person that's going to do all of that stuff. And it wasn't until that point it was like, oh, okay, because it would be, if you were going to be an actor that was going to play, for instance, the first person that comes into mind is Anthony, what's his name? Not Robbins. What's his name? Anthony, the Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, Anthony Hopkins.
Hopkins, there you go. Yeah. Because when he played that character, I'm sure you still have to be able to find a humanity in that character, even though that character was abhorrent. You had to be able.
Everyone has a story.
Yeah, and you have to kind of like bring all of that in, even if you never just like outright sit there and go, well, he went through this and he went through that, and that's why you're sitting there and drinking your blood or whatever it is. Absolutely. You have to kind of understand in your mind that person was born into the world as a pure soul, but then, like you say, they could have and probably did take on the role on a soul level to decide that each of the parties in that soul group were going to have to learn certain things for us all to be able to evolve and move forward. And you were talking about you do Akashic work. How did you get into that, and explain on a deeper level how that can help and just open up for us where we're at as souls?
So, I just fell into Akashic having a conversation with someone. This is going back about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was researching something completely different, something to do with souls, and Akashic Records popped up. Never heard of them. The word Akashic is a Sanskrit word, an Indian Sanskrit word, which means sky, which means not the heavens, but it actually means sky. And so I read about this and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So we've got a book floating around in the sky, a book of us. We each have a book with our name on it, or our soul's name on it, I should say. So interesting. I didn't think anything of it. So, and then about 2 years ago, and suddenly the whole Akashic realm kind of popped up again. And I honestly hadn't really thought much about it. And I wrote, I just started doing the shamanic work, so like 3.5 years ago. And it was through that I kept getting messages that you're going to do more of the spiritual work. And I was like, how? What? What am I going to do? And I didn't really plan to become a shamanic teacher or a shaman, as per se. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I was speaking to a friend and I said, I keep coming across this Akashic Records thing. And I just got a book, a lady who's been published with Hay House. And I said, I've just got the book, and I listened to her Hay House Radio. They do a summit every year. I just listened to one of her meditations. She talked about it. And a friend of mine said, well, I did a course with this lady, and she also does Akashic courses. And she goes, well, get in touch with her. And that was last June time, actually about a year ago. But I couldn't do the course, she had a date. So I went to the next one, which is last September. That's how I got into Akashic. But reading Sandra's book, who's this American Akashic Records reader, and then doing the course as I'm doing, and I've just finished my second module. I've got one left to do from a full-fledged practitioner, or they do encourage you to start doing readings for friends, for family, and even taking on clients if you want to feel confident. I do feel, after the second module I finished, I do feel a lot more confident. Now, Akashic Records is a belief that we all have, like I said, a book. It's our book on our soul's journey. The Mayan civilization believed in it. Ancient Egypt, they believed in it. It's called the book of, I think they call it the book of life. It's even mentioned in the Bible. It's called the book of knowledge in the Bible, I believe. So a lot of ancient civilizations, the Assyrians, like I said, the Mayans, Indians, even in Africa and in the Nordic cultures, they all had this, they already knew about this. But over time, as science develops, the church developed, organized religion develops, you kind of lose all the kind of spirituality, like things like pagans and druids. They kind of go underground, the Celts and all the rest of it, because it's not seen as being Christian, or it's not seen as being Islamic, or whichever religion you belong to, because it's not organized. So, but all of that work is very much to do with earth work, like druids and pagans. But with Akashic, you're working with the ether, you're working with the sky, you're working with the divine, you're working on another soul level, which is kind of seen as outside of yourself, but completely linked to what you do and how you do it. So what I do is, I've got a master, an ascended master. I will then open up my own Akashic Records, my own book. I link in with that knowledge. I link in with that, and it's all done through like a meditative trance-like state again, like you would journey in the shamanic. So it's very, very similar in that way, but not always with a drum. So you can do it by just through meditation and the visualization, and you set the intention when you open your records. And if I, for instance, if I was doing it for my client, I would then, I've got the lady who I did the training with, she's given us like a short, called a sacred prayer. I say the sacred prayer, I take the person's name, and as soon as you take a person's name, you connect with their energy. You can even do it over the phone, through the voice, but it's about having that name, and that connects with their energy, their soul energy. And then I ask the client, or ask whoever I'm doing a reading for, to bring 10 questions, up to 10 questions that they would like answered. A lot of people, it's about health, it's about relationships, it's about career, work, maybe about finances. Maybe they're thinking of doing organising a trip, or maybe they have a situation with a friend. Anything that's happening in their life. Sometimes there are repeat patterns. So they could be in a relationship where they may be the more dominant person. So they're always with somebody who's weaker than them, emotionally. And they're like, well, I'll get bored after 6 months. And I move to the next one. The same thing happens again. I was with him for a year. I was bored again, So there's repeat patterns. So I will I will go through my records, into their records, and find out what's going on. And that information that comes through, I relay it back. So I do question by question. How Sandra does it in her books is slightly different. So what I do is I find the best of both. I amalgamate the two, and you can do it. You can find the best way, because it's all about having faith. It's all about the belief, like with shamanic work. If a bird flies into your world, and I've told people about what I do, they just look at you going, you're not quite right. But it's all about your own faith. And I know the messages that come through, and you just repeat them verbatim. Because my masters may use language that I don't use, but it's actually, the client will understand it. They're like, oh yeah, that my brother says things like that. Or yeah, that's how I talk when I'm with my friends. But that's how I talk when I'm at work. Or, they may use particular types of words. And so you can go through all those questions, and you go really on very much a soul level, because you're really connecting with the soul, looking at where its journey is going. And people will always will connect with these readings when they're actually in a place where they're not happy, where they're feeling lonely, or there's anxiety, there's fear, there's pain. All of us carry pain from past trauma, not just trauma from our current life, but from previous lives. So if a person is not getting on with a parent or a husband or a wife, I can go back into the records, go back to previous lives, say, okay, that person you're with now, the husband, was actually your father in a previous life, and he was abusive. So now you're abusive to that person because you're just kind of taking out your anger on them because you weren't able to do it when they were your father. Or your sister was actually your teacher in a previous life, or was your aunt, and then you had quite a conflicting relationship. So, but not every relationship is going to be conflictive or full of struggle or full of anxiety and fear. There are some really good relationships, and then you come back together and to teach somebody else a lesson, or teach each other even a better, more of an evolved lesson, so that you can keep the soul level rising up. So you can go to past lives, and then you find out what the story was, why there is actually, you're not moving forward in your life. You may not be able to meet somebody, or you can't hold a job down. I'm in a job, I'm really good at what I do, but after 3 months, they give me the sack. After 6 months, I got the sack. So what is actually happening? So in a previous life, you may have had a job in an office, you were so unhappy. You said to yourself, in such, anxiety and fear, I will never work in an office again, ever. So once you've set that soul contract, because your soul goes, okay, fine, you're reborn, and then you always have administration jobs, but you hate it so much, it's because in a previous life you made that contract with your soul to never ever work in an office again, or in a closed space. So really you should have become a farmer, or you should have, gone into a job, or become hairdresser, or gone into retail, somewhere where you're not enclosed, but you're meeting different people. So what you do then is I would come back, relay the information, and ask them, do you want to change the outcome of this? Otherwise, this is going to carry on in this life and maybe in other lives. Yes, I would like to do that. Then I would connect back with my master and say, how do we do that? There's various different ways of doing it. I do it through affirmations. So I'll come back. I'll say, how would you like to rewrite the story? You ask the client, and the client say, well, okay, I would like to get a job in whatever, another completely different field. I know I need to retrain, but I'd like you to go back and put it into my records. I've retrained, got a job, I've become a paramedic, say, and I've done my training. So I will go back and rewrite it. It's all done visually in the book. Nadine is now a paramedic and she's happy and she's helping people and she's saving lives. So once you change the outcome, you fill it with love, you fill it with light, you kind of visualize it's happening. Then I would imagine Nadine, I don't know who Nadine is, but I'm just thinking of a name. She's now a paramedic. She's happy. She's driving an ambulance. She's saving lives. She's on the front line. She feels a sense of purpose. So I visualize it. I'll put it in her record. Sometimes it can be like a movie playing someone's life. Sometimes like an actual book. I'll put it in there and you seal it with love and light. You come back. I give them that information. Then I might set affirmations. And first of all, you need to go and get a training course. Or first of all, leave your job if you can. If not, if you need the money coming in to pay for your training course, find out about a paramedic course, find out what you need to do. Go and start taking action. I'm very much about be proactive. Do something, even if it's something small every day that will help you to achieve your goal. So, and then that's what I do. Sometimes it could be like a past life. And then we use the universal points, healing points, which are on your hand, acupressure points. So I'll get the client to work with either like a past life or a karmic life or a current life, emotional trauma. And there's different healing points on your hand. They press them. And as they press them, I will connect with the masters, connect with the book, and I will I will release that trauma, whether it's past life, karmic, or current life trauma. So we release that. They will be, pressing those points on the hand. They're kind of the acupressure points they are, and I will be doing it on my own hand. So we kind of have that connection going, and hopefully the intention always is that is going to release that pain, anxiety, the fear, and that will help them to really achieve their goal. So the Akashic Records is really very much about going into that person's soul's journey, looking where they are, where the changes can be made, making a change and rewriting future outcomes so they're positive. I don't go to Akashic Records and go, right, okay, when's this person going to die? When's so-and-so going to happen? Can you tell me about their husbands? Is he having an affair? Or is blah, blah, blah going on with the parent? I don't go into anyone else's records. It's purely about them. If there is a connection to somebody else, the masters will show me. They will show me what I need, whatever it is I need to tell them. But it's always for the person's higher good. And that's part of the prayer as well. And an opening prayer and a closing day. Whatever information I'm getting is for your higher good. It's not about being abusing, using it. When I become a millionaire and then that person goes off, wins a lottery, and then they, God knows what they do with it, or it's not for the higher good. So it's very much about going deep as possible to get the information I need to give to them, to see where it resonates, and then to change it into a positive outcome. Some people don't really need that much work. They'll be like, you need to start thinking like this, or you need to have a better diet, or you need to do this. And they're like, yeah, that resonates. Yeah, I get it. I know exactly what I need to do. Thank you very much. Whereas other people may need more than 1 or 2 healing sessions, might need all karmic pressure points, might need to do trauma for this life, previous lives, any karmic stuff that they're carrying on. So, it all depends. And you kind of get that sense of pain, because I will get sensations in my body, they get sensations. And it's really satisfying when somebody walks away and goes, I understand that. Now I understand why I keep fighting with my sister, or why I keep logging heads with my best friend, because X, Y, and Z's happened, but I've not let that trauma go. So that's not as satisfying work, but whatever you try to do, and I always say to my clients as well, do it from the heart. Don't do it from a place of fear or place of ego. Do it from the heart, and then whatever your intention is will just happen. It will all come to fruition. It will just align, and you will then achieve whatever it is that you need to achieve.
Perfect. And talking about soul groups, would you say we're constantly in the soul group, same soul group? Like, for instance, with me, I'm feeling that my soul family is very international.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet is helping me to connect to them on a level of understanding, even though there are people that I've known that have been in my physical relationships, in terms of like friends, family, everything like that. But there's always been, you appreciate just being the one that thinks slightly different than everyone else around you, and then suddenly you start to meet other people who you just have to connect to on a different level.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
How does that play in, like, that soul group where you don't feel a full connection, and then suddenly you meet people that you probably only ever see over the internet or in a Facebook group, but they seem to understand you better? If they feel more like your soul group, would they have had a lifetime where you were all close and physical before technology spread us across the world, or made us connect across the world rather?
Because we discussed this in shamanic, and I'm not 100% sure, but from my feelings is that we have the two soul groups. I think they're just on different levels. I think we have a higher soul group, which is the people, like you're saying, you're connecting with people all over the world. Some people you never met. We only met, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
There was a connection. You came from nowhere, came up to me, and we talked, and there was a connection. And we don't know when we're ever going to meet again, or what's going to happen, or what the kind of impact will be of this work. Then I think there's a people in your soul group where you are your friends, your family, and you keep chopping and changing roles. You come back to teach each other. So in my next life, I don't particularly want another life. I think I'm a bit tired of it. So get to the point of saying, I think I know what I'm doing now, and I'm happy to do this, but I don't know. But I know there's another purpose for me in the other realm, and I pass over, which I'm quite, excited about. But whilst I'm here, I think you have a soul group which is within your families and your friends, which is less people, but you keep chopping and changing roles. And then some of the souls, I think, when they ascend, will then go, and then you get newer souls. That's why sometimes you have siblings. There might be 4 of you, 3 of you might be quite, in tune with each other, help each other out, support each other as human beings. But you might have one sibling who's selfish, or who's, even though they're old, they're actually very childish. So that's a new soul that's come into within this soul group to teach, to learn from you, or to teach something, or has just been introduced into soul group. So I think there's 2 levels of soul groups. And I don't want to say ascended soul group and trying to evolve soul group, but I don't know if that makes sense. And the ascended soul group is your soulmates from different times and frequencies and different places where you connect, but on a very different level. You can sit next to someone on an aeroplane and have a 5-hour journey and never see them again, but you just had that connection and that tingling sensation. And it could be the same sex, it could be a different sex, it could be a different age group, but you've connected for whatever reason, different culture, different, everything. But for those 5 hours, you just connected, and you learned something from them, or they learned something from you that you may never get with a friend 20 years. But I strongly believe there's for me, maybe more, but for me there's 2 soul groups, and they're just people I click with, and then you may never see them again. And there's people you see on a daily basis, and you just think, I'm going to kill this person, they're driving me crazy. But there's learning to be had in order to evolve, in order to grow, in order to fulfill our purposes, whatever they may be. Yeah.
I'll get you about there's people that you see, you even fleetingly in a street, and you might not even speak, but you lock eyes for that split second, and then it's like that was it, and that
smile there or something.
And that's it. So talking about coming back and kind of learning lessons and maybe climbing up and becoming more ascended, when do you know you're done? Because it gets to
well, I just said that 5 minutes ago. I just feel like I'm at that point when I'm done. And the religion I was born into, that I do follow strongly as well, is Sikhism. And in Sikhism, the belief is that we don't believe in reincarnation. Even in Hinduism, we believe in reincarnation. Now, Sikhism is a branch, a strand that came from Hinduism. And I follow both. In fact, I follow all religions. Because I take the best of everything and put it together into one little ball. And the belief there is that if you're born a Sikh, that you won't be coming back, that you've ascended, you've learned a lesson. And I've met some Sikh people, and I just think, dude, you need to come back. There's a lot of lessons that you still need to learn. The feeling is there, or whatever. So I don't know if it's a kind of sense of like, you become wise and you become a sage, and you write books and people are following you around the world, and then you're spreading the word, or spreading the gospel, or whatever you're trying to teach people. or if it's when you kind of think, you know what, I know I've done what I had to do here, and I'm quite ready to fulfill the purpose that I need to fulfill as a spirit in the spirit world. I don't know, because it's something that I think about every so often. You know, will this be my last time? Because we have blessing quite a lot in our religions, in the Indian religions, in Hinduism, Sikhism, and in Buddhism, we have blessings and we have prayers on special occasions, whether it's your birthday, significant birthdays or weddings and stuff. And one blessing that I had, I think it might have been my 40th birthday, my mum did a blessing at the temple, and a close family friend come, and you then get a mantra which is specific to you from the holy book. They draw it out. Usually it's like a paragraph, 2 paragraphs. And my mantra said, now that you've found the feet of the Guru Nanak is our founding father, he's the one who laid the principles of Sikhism, and it evolved over 200 years before it was actually formalized into a proper organized religion in the end of the 17th century. The saying there is that now that you've found the feet of, or you sit at the feet of this particular Guru, you've broken the reincarnation cycle, and that you will go on, or you won't need to come back into this realm, into this world. And I was like, that'd be lovely, actually, because it's not been, life is not easy. And I think with technology moving the way it is, and I just can't connect to technology as the way some people do. There's a little bit of jealousy and envy in me in that. I just think, why can't I just do it? I find kind of quite, I'm full of relief that I won't have to come back in 15, 20, 30 years time, when there will be robots on our streets and self-driving cars, and God knows what the world will look like, and if there'll be any trees left or any particular animals will be extinct. And that makes me so sad to think that the world I grew up in will not look the same if I was to come back. But then would I even know that I've come back? I'll be a brand new miniature again. Yeah, brand new little babies come back. So I don't know the answer to that. I don't think you'll ever know when your time is not to come back. There are some holy people in this world, and then sometimes you hear them speak and you just think, I can't connect with that, or I don't 100% agree with it. Who have a mission, who have a purpose, but then can abuse it for their own greater good, as apart from the greater good of humanity or society. So I'm not sure, but when I find out, I'll let you know.
Do, because you wonder every now and again. There's a meme that you don't do social media, so you may not see it, but there's this meme that goes around every now and again. It kind of circles, but I can't remember what the picture is, but the saying is just like, remind me again why I reincarnated into this shithole. It's like someone sitting there scratching their head, going like, what? Yeah, it's like, why?
Absolutely. But you just think every time a new baby is born, you think that soul's come from somewhere. It's a journey, and now it's come back. Or it might be the beginning of its soul's journey. It might be a completely new, brand new soul. I don't think there are very brand new souls, but I think there are really young souls. And they've got their whole life to live, or however long they've got. And then my heart sometimes goes out to babies when they're born in particular circumstances or with health problems. You just think, why did you choose to come back? Why?
But then you never know, because that one child could be Oprah, and Oprah was under terrible circumstances.
Precisely, yeah, and grew up in absolutely. And that child could have a health problem, but because of this 1 in a million health problem, they could be the ones that are going to be the child's going to be used to discover a new cure. That could change civilization, like penicillin or anything else that could really change and save lives. So that's why, even in harsh circumstances, there's always a purpose for every soul to be born. You can't begrudge that, and that's why certain communities, certain cultures in this world, absolutely wrap babies up in cotton wool and they protect them and they look after them and they nurture them, because they know that soul is come for a purpose, come for a reason. A friend of mine lost her daughter at the age of 2.5, and she's still not come to terms with her, but it's hard to have the conversation. So she came for a purpose and she fulfilled the purpose, so she had to move on. But when you've lost like that, it's very hard to understand that grief, that bereavement, so seeing it on both sides is interesting. And the work that I've done with the Shamanic and Akashic and helping people move forward, that, for instance, when this was quite hard for me, but my degree's in history, and I did World War II and my A-levels and university and stuff, and my background before I decided to teach in history. I watched a documentary on, you think about Nazism and what it was like in Germany for those Jews, and for anybody that was against the Nazi regime, because it wasn't just the Jews, it was a lot of other people that were killed, whether homosexual or disabled or anything. And there was this twins that I watched a documentary that Dr. Mengele did experiments on, while they were alive. And these girls, there was some horrific stuff going on. One of my journeys, when it was an anniversary of Auschwitz and the concentration camps when they were liberated, I think it was last year, the year before, there was a big anniversary. And we went back to these concentration camps, because like these concentration camps, everything is still. I have not been to one, and I will be going to one soon, I'm hoping. There's nothing grows there because of so much death has been sucked into the earth. The earth is dead, like it's dead. Birds don't fly over, no flowers grow there, because the earth is literally seeped with the blood of so much anguish and trauma. And these two girls came through in one of my journeys, these twins. Obviously, I'd carried that trauma with me, of their trauma, all these years, since the age of, say, I did my levels at the age of 17, 18. And I'd carried that image in my heart, not realizing. And then they came through me, and they'd been waiting for me to do this work.
Wow.
So I could release them in order for them to find the light. I mean, when I came back from that journey, I was a mess, So you have, and then you felt a real sense of relief and a lightness that I'd carried it, not realizing I was carrying this, the pain of their pain, and the trauma of having to see and seen that. So when you get chosen for some of this kind of work, and you get to do something like that, which is a privilege, the fear kind of goes out of doing this kind of work. And when I first started thinking, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And when people are mocking you and saying, "Oh, go and get a 9-to-5 job," you just think, "Thank you, I understand where you're coming from, but I know why I'm doing what I'm doing." And then I won't have a conversation with them, not because I'm afraid, but of their mockery. But sometimes you just need to conserve that energy for the greater good and keep it in your heart for when that person will need it, and you're able to help them. And there's been another situation that we've gone into doing world healings when Paris, a terrorist attack happened, and I helped a group of 11 people to find the light because they were so confused. That was really moving. So to me, it just makes it all worthwhile, that even if it's just a handful of people you can help heal, it will. And every time I do something like that, it heals me as well.
Yeah.
And that's the selfish bit of it. So sometimes. But
but then I think it just makes you realize, you were talking when you said before about people feeling a void or loneliness or lost without any level of purpose, without any level of service in your life. It's just like get and grab and do, which is, who doesn't like, I was an athlete. I know what it's like to win. I know, you know what I mean? I know what it is to work, to win, to be first, to push through.
The adrenaline, the competition, it makes you keep going. The motivation of that would just keep you going. Yeah,
it does. And it keeps you from, it stopped me watching Top of the Pops for years, and music is like, right up there with me. But the winning of the course, the winning of the race, and being fitter and fitter and fitter was even greater than my love of music. And anyone who knows me will kind of appreciate how serious that was and how important that was in my life. But even when you do all of those things and you've won all the medals and you're always first or anything like that, it's when you go back and then you start coaching other people or showing them to do how you do what you do, and you can see an improvement in them. It makes you realize, like I say, the actual power and the importance that you have in the world, because just winning for winning's sake, or achieving or buying for winning's sake is what gives you that void. Because the minute that goes, for whatever reason, you lose your job, or you can't run anymore, or anything like that, then you're left with, what are you going to do? But you've got that wealth of knowledge and experience and wisdom to pass on, and then when you can see how far that can spread, that in itself gives you that extra juice. And like with you, going back to that's a powerful story. That's real big stuff, man. You carried that for 20 years without even knowing,
without realizing.
That's just stunning.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw them, I knew straight away who they were. I knew what happened to them. They described in the documentary, and the fact they were just sitting in a corner in this horrible cabin, horrible room, which there would have been like in the middle of this concentration camp, just waiting to either be murdered, I suppose, or they were murdered eventually. But it's just the salvation of this. The peace that the soul needed, was aching for, but they waited all these years, so that kind of stuff is really powerful. And there's a few more stories like that, and then you can figure, once you've done it, it's not like, oh, guess what I did in my day's job, I did this and I've done. It's kind of like that sense of peace it just gives you, and you don't want to talk about it, and you don't want to go brag. It's not about bragging or anything. But when you do it from the heart, you do it. You go on to then keep moving and keep evolving and keep moving forward, and helping. And it's not like you're helping for the sake of the big I am, but if this is meant to be my journey, because this could change. I've literally fallen into this. I'm a project manager. I do strategic work. I've done senior management. You work and then you get paid and you spend the money and you go on holidays and stuff. But this work is obviously found me somehow, and for whatever reason, I'm not 100%, I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm more open to seeing how I can be of service to it. And if a couple of people said to me very recently, will you read my Akashic Records and what do you charge? It's like, yes, I will, but I won't be charging you, or it will be a discount rate, or purely because there's an exchange of energy there as well. And then you have your teachers telling you, you've got to charge people, you've got to do this. And I don't feel comfortable doing it always, because sometimes you think, well, you've got to value yourself, so you've got to charge for the work you do as a coach, as a personal development coach. Another time you just think, but I feel I'm being of enough service. If they can release that anger and that pain they've got, then I feel like my job is done, or I feel like I've been able to have an impact. And having that impact is one of the big things for me, and sharing this and being able to share is that. And that's why I'm more open and willing to talk about it. When people talk to me about anything, what do you do there? What do you do? I do shamanic work. And it's amazing how when I've said it with confidence and with love in my heart, people are listening. Whereas when I first started, I was like, oh, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I do shamanic. And they were like, what the hell's that? And then you explain, oh, what bloody hell are you doing that for? As soon as I say it with confidence and love, I felt in the last year and a bit, when I talk about the Akashic Records and I'm starting to do my intuitive coaching, it's not just like black and white person development coaching, it's more on the level. And I've always believed the people I need to serve will come, they'll find me, and I'm open for them to come into my life and for me to do what I need to do, really. That makes sense.
It makes total sense. But we always say that, we're talking, especially when we're talking on the level that's maybe not an everyday level, and like you say, especially when you're doing something that's so vastly different to what the majority of people do and consider to be a real work or real job. And then you've also experienced a lot of scrutiny and a lot of mockery. Those things are hard, to like have to either overly explain someone or just kind of take the beating. And, there's a little bit of shame or anything like that. So then to be able to just talk about it, it's like, what? It's like, you get me? Because as soon as you start, because that time when I met you at the Mind Body Spirit, I was like talking to you, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's like coaching is nice and everything. And then you went down this way, and I'm like, there you go, because it's why we're supposed to be talking. That's what those are the women that I'm interested in, that are just doing right service work on whatever way, shape or form it takes. And I'm just excited to be able to sit and talk to them.
Absolutely. And it's amazing how much when you start sharing, how much you can learn as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then people will start sharing back, and you're like, wow, okay. So there's people who do like, Reiki work, or who do X, Y, and Z. Well, if you do a bit of this for me, can you do that for me? And I'll do this for you. And long as it's energy exchange,
Sure.
and that is just gives you so much more power. I did a reading the other day for somebody, and they're like, well, I'm this and that, and then nobody, no one recognizes my abilities at work, and it's because I know this person slightly as well. And I said, well, as soon as you step into your power, then these people will back off.
Yeah.
It's not a case of you stepping in like, rah, and I am, and it's not like that. As soon as you step into your power in a way where you just like, you show the confidence, and you can, it's not like these people are not horrible, but they have their own anxieties and fears.
Mm.
So what these people do, as my master calls them, small-minded people, because I shouldn't be saying this, but the small-minded people, and that was a message I had to give to this person. It's just that because they had their own anxieties and fears, they need to pull somebody else down in order for them to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Make themselves feel better, because they don't know how to step into their own power. Because when you step into your own power, you do not fear competition, or you don't have to bring other people down. In fact, when you step into your own power, you try to help other people step into their power.
Mm-hmm.
So if we all find the power and the love and the light, we're all going to become ascended. And then that's where you can say, I've had enough. Let me do the next phase of my life. And that's more important. You step into your power, you help other people step into their power. And it's not about arrogance or being egotistical or look at me. It's very much about when you step into power, people look at you, go, damn, I want to know that person.
For sure.
I want to speak to that person. I want a little bit of what they got. What did you have for breakfast?
I'll have what she's having.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love whatever they're doing. And then that is what brings joy to your life. And you can share that without shame, without guilt, without fear, and give somebody else a little bit of it too.
So good. So good. So I want to ask you some questions now. You know these ones. So first one is, what is the best piece of advice a woman has ever given to you?
I think that's actually something recently, and somebody said it to me many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was an ex-manager who gave it to me years ago. He was a man, but it was very similar to the piece of advice I got a couple of weeks ago. She just said to me, you need to stop justifying yourself. You need to just stop justifying. I've seen you do it on and off so many years. Just stop justifying yourself. You don't need to do it anymore.
Mm.
And I sat back and I went, okay, I get that, I think. And she went, you're doing it again. And she went straight back, don't justify yourself, just keep doing, keep moving forward. And the work that you need to do will find you, because you've changed so much in the last sort of 10 years. I've seen that growth, but not in an aggressive kind of a way, but just the shift in the way you do certain things. So that was lovely. And there was an ex-manager who said to me many years ago, if you don't blow your own trumpet, no one else is going to blow it for you. Because he always used to go to me, you do really this. I was in retail after university, I couldn't get a teaching job. So I went right back to earning like £2.50 an hour after everything.
The
There was no
joy.
shame in that. There was no shame in any of that. And then he just went, you've got to learn to blow your own trumpet. And I said, well, I don't do things like that. Well, I wasn't brought up like that. You always brought up to be more humble.
Mm.
It's the way you do it. And the way you do it is you just do it from a quiet space. You do it from your heart space. And that way it doesn't come across as arrogant. And I still don't do that as much as he said to me, but it was kind of a piece of advice that he gave me. And I felt very connected to him, and he was a very, very good manager. So don't justify yourself.
No. Just do your thing. And what woman do you feel represents higher energetic resonance?
I'm going to go to Louise Hay. I mean, she passed away last year, which is really sad, but she lived a very fulfilled life, and she had a very difficult childhood. She was the first person who I connected with. In fact, I was introduced to her by the therapist, the book, and How to Heal Your Life, and that changed my life. That literally changed my life. And from there, all these thoughts of I want to be my own boss, or I know I've got more to give, I've got more to do, and who am I? She started answering those for me through her words, and then just her magic, and then being introduced to other people at Hay House, being introduced to other books and other things, and then it just literally gone from this to huge to things like Akashics and twin flames and soulmates and shamanic and all sorts, and how to do sage clearing. And I'm like, I didn't know about any of these things, and it's literally popping up everywhere. All this information is popping up everywhere. So she would be the first. I mean, people like Oprah and the other person who I resonate so much with, who gave so much to this world. I can't even talk about her, Princess Diana.
Oh, how beautiful.
It's the weirdest thing. And then when she was around, you never really appreciated her. As soon as she passed, you just realise how much she gave to humanity. And she was literally pulled down because she stepped into her power, especially when she got divorced, and she became such a woman of means that she had to be pulled down because people just couldn't cope with her.
Yeah,
so,
and I was watching it. I think it was before the wedding. Was it before the wedding? No, it was last year because it was coming up to 20. It was coming up to 20 years, and there were a few documentaries. But there was one that I was watching where I think she was working with a speech coach or something like that, and he filmed a lot of what she was doing. But when she was talking about her life, it's like before she got married, she'd met him like 12 times or something like that. Just like, and she was like this. I think when I was watching it, I can't remember how young I was when that, it's like 10, something like that, 9-10 years old when she got married. It's 81, right? And so I'm like, go around to my aunt's house watching this TV, and it just looks like a fairy tale. So you appreciate, she's like she's 19, but when you're 19 could be 50. You don't realise until you're 19 and go past 19 and realise, man, at 19 I knew absolutely nothing at all. And then to be put into this situation where you're marrying this man, and then you're finding out all of this stuff, and you're in the middle of this big storm of media and pomp and ceremony and ritual and you're only just working out who you are, and then you're in, who knows. I mean, how do you feel about Meghan? Did you watch the wedding?
I did watch the wedding. I think it's lovely that somebody completely unconventional has come into the family. I can't connect with either her or with Catherine. It's really bizarre. I think they'll all try to emulate Diana, but she was, for me, I mean, the Queen has that power as well, and phenomenal woman, 92, still doing the do. Because I'm not a massive royalist, but I see the purpose of royal family in this country. They've been there thousands of years. They're not going anywhere just yet. We're not going to be not in my life anyway. And they don't bother me in the slightest. And I think the boys are doing a great job, and they married 2 women who really support and help them, and cure and heal them as well from their pain and trauma as well. But I just think no one has, for me. I think because Princess Diana didn't have it. She didn't know she had that power. She really stepped into it, and she just did what she felt was right by shaking hands with an AIDS patient, picking up a leper in India, or working with all these amazing people she got to work with around the world. She just oozed off this light that not many people have in this world. And she was chosen to have that light and to bring it into this world. And then that's why, unfortunately, it was doused very, very too soon. You can speculate if she murdered and blah, 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 and the rest of it. But I think Meghan will do some of that work with Harry, because he's got a little bit of his mother's light. And then the way he communicates with people and hugs children, all that kind of stuff is genuine. And I think Meghan has a little bit of that genuineness as well. But I think pomp, society, protocol will dampen that, unfortunately. I think she had all that vivaciousness before she got married to Harry. but unfortunately she'll have to conform to protocol, because there was a big saying just before they got married, was it just after they got married, will she change the royal family, or will the royal family change her? Unfortunately, the royal families, not the royal family, but the environment around them, the bigger circle that we don't see, the invisible circle of protocol, will change her, because she'll have to fit into it. Otherwise, like Fergie and that Dana, they'll be pushed to the side, unfortunately.
And they're still punishing Fergie. I wish I'd just leave that woman.
I know. So she's just got to leave her alone. She's a woman. She's going to be a grandma. Her daughter's getting married. Just let her get on with what she needs to do.
Yeah, it's like you invite her, then you don't invite her, then you bring her in, and then it's just like, come on now. You know what I mean?
It's not fair on her.
It's not fair on her. They're really bad. They're really bad. And so next question is, what's your favourite self-care ritual or practice?
Oh, good Lord. You know what? I don't do enough of it, unfortunately.
Then what should you be doing?
Any of self-care. I do try to do, I think one thing I need to do more of, and I'm good at it, but then I go off and I go, is meditation. And I can meditate as well, I can't do. I think the one self-care ritual that I do is at the end of the day, I give gratitude. I do my prayers. I close down. It's same again. Was not done intentionally or consciously. I just started doing it, and that's become a daily routine where before I go to bed, I light my candle in front of my own altar. There's an altar in the house, but there's my altar in my bedroom, which is my own personal altar. I light a candle, and as I'm just getting ready to wind down, go to bed, do my rituals, whether it's bathing, take your makeup off, whatever. And I have that in a very dim light, my candle in the background, burning in the background in front of my altar. Get ready, do my bits, and then just as before I go to bed, I will say my prayers, give gratitude, ask them to show me anything I need to know, anything, even if for asking for forgiveness or whatever it may be. I say what I need to do, say any affirmation that I want to say, anything I want, I will ask for it then. Tomorrow it'd be good if I could, or if there's anything I need to do, anywhere I need to go, please tell me. And then that, in fact, for me, really does close the day for me. And it just gives me that sense of peace where I fall asleep. And that's been quite nice. And that's a ritual I've been doing for about 2.5, maybe 3 years as well. And that's just developed. It used to be just like, oh, thank you. Now it's like candle, this, that, all the things that you kind of do. But it takes no time. It just literally takes no time. And if I don't do it, when I'm away, if I'm on holiday and like that, I do it in my mind's eye, and I do a smaller version. I do miss my candle, I do miss my altar, and I do miss my ritual of doing it. Those 2-3 minutes that I spend just with myself and my with my gods or my goddesses, or my own little space. So yeah, I suppose that would be the one that I do. And it's not self-care like a beauty regime, but it's more of a self-care of the soul and heart.
Which is ultra important, of course. Perfect. So, going forward, what's next for you? What's in the pipeline for you and your work?
So I've just developed. I formalised my business. It's what I'm focusing on with the personal development coaching with adults and with children as well. Because of my education background, I'm going to hope to do more work with young people and with schools. But the Akashic Records side has kind of piqued a few people's interest. And they were like, well, what exactly is it? I've got phone calls and from Mind, Body, Spirit festival that I did when I met you. Can I have a reading? What does the reading involve? And, would I need to do anything? And, oh my God, are dead people going to turn up? All that kind of question that people don't know. The spirit's going to turn up from nowhere. My grandmother's going to turn up. So she might do, you never know. And I think about 2 weeks ago, I was getting kind of stressed out about, I don't know what's next. And so this week is very much about, I'm just going to see what happens. The work I'm meant to do is just going to come and find me, or I will need to go wherever I need to go. I will just go. And that sense of kind of letting go and having faith, is that having that faith is kind of is what's really helped me over the last 5 or 6 years. When I first started shamanic, when I connected to my first power animal, which was a panther, the message that keeps come through every week was faith, hope, and belief. As soon as you get those 3 things into your psyche, things will start coming together. And I was going, but I don't know what you mean. But I don't know. Tell me. They go, And I think, and these kind of messages come to you because you do know, but it's just fear. It's also society says, you need a 9-to-5 job, and you should bring a business suit, and you should have a job like this, and you should be an engineer or a doctor, and this woo-woo stuff that you're doing, it's never going to pay the bills, or okay, I'll start. So I've done something. Yeah. So I don't know. I know what I'd like to keep silver lining moving and do some more kind of personal development work, coaching work, because I enjoy that side of things, helping people achieve their goals and just shift their energy and their self-belief patterns. Because I can do it 2 ways. I can do it through conventional ways, and then obviously the unconventional way being through Akashics and stuff, which for me feels more conventional.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then finally, where can we find you? How can we connect with you, people listening?
So I'm online. So I'm at Silver Lining. So www.silverlining, all one word, CC, which stands for coaching and consulting. So I kind of amalgamate them both for now. .co.uk. You're welcome to kind of drop me an email, and my phone number is on there as well. So it's www.silverliningscc.co.uk. And if anyone wants to get in touch or just want to have a reading done, if you're kind of quite far away from me, I can do readings over the phone. We've been taught how to do that as well, kind of just connecting with voice energy. That was always a bit like, I don't know if I want to get it right. And they said, no, it works just as well. And I've tried it. So it does work. with one of the groups that I'm doing the course with, we connect each other over the phone, and we do readings over the phone. So we get used to kind of connecting with energy that way. And if you're London based or just outside of London, then I like to do face-to-face readings, because you do kind of build a rapport with the person, and they can ask any question they have, and then they can get to know me a little bit as well. So yeah, so I'm happy to share that with people. So yeah, I really enjoy what I'm doing at the moment. It's completely new. Not where I thought it was going to be. I thought I'd be wearing a nice suit, driving and hopping on off the tube, and I'm on a 9-to-5, doing blah blah blah, sitting in meetings and presenting and doing strategy. But fortunately, I'm not.
I never really saw myself doing that. Do you know, and the thing about it is, when I had to travel, in the few time that I had to travel into, I mean, we did it over a bank holiday weekend, so that weekend wasn't so bad. But the few times that I have to travel through London in rush hour, it's like, I used to do that daily for years and years. You can see why people switch off, because if you were like conscious of what's going on 24/7, it'd just be too much for the brain.
It does. I mean, that's the thing, when you're doing this kind of work, I'm now going to do more work on grounding and protecting. They say you've got to protect yourself, otherwise you get all sorts of messages and all sorts of energies, and then you get out of the tube and you're knackered, and you think, I didn't even do anything, I just literally sat on the tube, did 10 stops, got off, but you're tired even before the day's work has started. It's because you're those vampires, these energy vampires are sucking your energy. They're like, aha, I've got somebody here who's got some really good light energy, I want a bit of that. So you won't be aware of it until you get more and more kind of in tune with that kind of work. So you have to protect yourself. And even if you're not into energizing work or healing work, you should just protect yourself by through meditation, or through kind of envisaging a nice pink bubble around you, or a golden light around you, and that keeps anything that could attack your energy away from you. So everyone can just protect themselves by just visualizing a golden light around them as soon as they step out of the house, and that should protect them for the whole day. And then you just close space again, and then in the night by just saying thank you and for protecting me, and then you're fine. And it is very simple. Everyone should do that.
Perfect. Brilliant tip. Thank you so much. And just thank you for allowing me to kind of just burst into your life and go, come on my podcast.
Come on in. You have no choice.
Yeah, it was just great to meet you. And like I said, it was just like you were talking about one thing, and then you kind of went a little bit left, and I'm like, I need to speak to you a little bit more. So thank you for coming on to Her Conversations. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to listen to other podcasts that you've done previously that have been quite inspiring as well, all of them in different ways. And it's just really nice to be able to share my story, which I don't really do. Obviously, your friends know about your work, or your siblings, brothers and sisters know, but no one else really knows outside of that. And this is very new for me, like I said, but I feel like I've just talking and kind of giving back to you and hearing myself and oh yeah, I've done this, done that, and you just, the growth just carries on. So it's been phenomenal, and I wish you all the best with her. I think it's a great concept, some great work you've already done, and I think once it's really out in there, it will just grow and grow. I'm sure you're going to meet some more, even more amazing women.
And you're all coming with me. That's the idea.
Yay!
Just like a band of women.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. And I look forward to hearing more about the work that you're doing, keeping in touch. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. Take care. All the best.
So thank you again to Apinder for this week's enlightening episode, and thank you to you, the listener, for joining me again on another episode of Her Conversations. If you want to find out more about me, Carol May Whittick, you can go to my website. That's CarolMaywhittick. You can also find me on Facebook under that name, or Twitter or Instagram under Casmic, CAZMICK. So until the next week and the next episode, I wish you the best. Bye.